We're going to do some kind of a weird landscape painting. Hopefully you guys dig this. I am the American Oji-san, and this is Oji-san Draws. Make sure you're clicking that subscribe button down. I think it's in this corner over here, maybe. I don't know. Maybe over here. Maybe it's down there. I think it is down there. Subscribe button. Little square button at the corner there. If you like this kind of content, and maybe you want me to walk you through a few of these kind of paintings, I am using Autodesk Sketchbook, and this is the 2021 Pro Edition, and this is my glorious XP Pen Artist 22 tablet, and I love this thing, and we will get into this. I watch a lot of Bob Ross, and you'll be able to tell, but I do a few things different. And since we're going to have some water at the bottom of this, we are going to turn on some symmetry here with this little symmetry tool. I'm going to turn that horizontal, and we're going to lock it in place down here about, I don't know, what would you say, it's 75% of the way down. You don't have to be exact or anything. Now what we'll do is we got to start putting our sky in. So I've got this big old fan brush here on this artist brush set, and the thing with Sketchbook is that you can download hundreds and hundreds of different brushes. And the other cool thing is that you can actually go in here and customize these brushes. So if there's not a brush that does exactly what you want it to, you can go in there and customize it and make it your own. Now we'll kind of start with the sky, and I like kind of these dreamy feeling skies. These here are your pucks. This is your color puck, and this is your brush puck. And the brush puck, by just dragging it left or right, controls the size. Up and down controls the flow. So we're just going to get in here and get started. Now because this is a fairly good size canvas, and I have the resolution turned up pretty high, my poor little laptop can't exactly keep up with everything I do. So this is the lag between the pen and what you actually see pop up on the screen is more due to the limitations of the laptop and not the software. So down here we'll kind of start some orange, and the progression for me on my skies is I like yellow to orange to maybe a little purple or red into the blue. And we may do this as a night sky, I don't know, I haven't decided yet. That's kind of the beauty of digital painting, is you can decide it as you go. Hope everybody out there is doing good and staying safe. Now, I'm not too worried about all these random shapes and stuff at the moment, because we're going to blend all this together. We're going to go up here to these smudge brushes, and I need it to be fairly good size, and probably at about 4% should work. Let's see. Yeah. So if you'll kind of just smooth things out, and these kind of tablets and most tablets are pressure sensitive, so that means the harder I push, the harder it works. So the lighter I push, the lighter it is. Just like if you had a real brush on a canvas. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. Now again, I haven't decided, may make this a nighttime. I don't know. We'll just go. One thing about me and my art is I really don't come in with a strong plan on anything. I just start drawing and see what happens. We'll turn this music down just a touch. I'm using pretzel for my music, and I get a little worried about it sometimes, because even though it's supposed to all be copyright free music that I have paid a subscription for, sometimes I still get hit with a copyright claim on YouTube. Okay, so we're going to start a new layer, and layers, you'll find out, are very important in digital art. So this new layer, when I start painting, it won't affect the layer that we've already put down at all. Now I want this almost white, but not quite all the way white. And we're going to start just kind of putting in a few little clouds here and there. Now I do have a cloud brush, and it's a really cool brush, and it makes these clouds for me very fast. But for this demonstration and for the purposes of what we're doing today, I kind of want to do this old school where I'm actually painting these clouds in. So it feels more like a painting show. But I will show you in another video all the little brushes and stuff I use to make my life easier doing these things. Now, while some people will spend hours and hours and days on a painting, I like to be done. Usually, I don't put a time limit on it, but an hour and a half or so is kind of my limit. So now we're going to smudge these clouds just a little bit, just to kind of break up those little circles that the brush leaves on the edges. Just a little. Now I can turn the contrast up on this, and it'll make these clouds pop out even more, but that is what it is. Now, another trick is this very first layer is our background color. And as I mess with this background color, you can see how it does different things to the sky. So we started off with white, just like that. But I can subtly change the color of the background, and we can get all kinds of different effects. And again, that's something we'll play with later on. Okay, so we got our clouds in, and we're going to keep this daytime. We'll keep it daytime. Let me smooth out just a couple more of these clouds here. So one of my favorite kind of scenes to do are kind of these like a bay, like you're looking at a lake or a bay on the seaside, or just a big pond. Those are kind of my favorites to do, so that's what we're going to do today. And to really make it pop out, I have to kind of make this look like a nighttime scene. So to do that, we will actually darken this up here. Grab us a nice dark blue, and what I've got here is my little airbrush, and we'll just start darkening this in a little bit. And we will actually drop down to our original layer, and you'll see that that's going to kind of help us get our clouds to pop out. And it'll also help me kind of figure out where I need to do some more smoothing. And see, this is kind of the beauty of digital art, because I could never pull this maneuver off traditionally with a canvas. Just wouldn't be possible. Alright, so let's see, now it's a little darker. Give me just a second. Looks a little bit more like a sunset situation. So then we're going to go back up here. I'm actually going to turn that layer completely off, I think. If I can make it do it. Nah, heck with it. So now we know we need to do just a little bit more smoothing on these clouds. And you can lift them straight up. We'll just kind of smooth them a touch. We don't want to get too dramatic with the smoothing. Sometimes clouds do have those little details in them. Little soft bubbles here and there. Okay. Now here we go back to this layer, and we're going to start putting our land in. And for the land, I like to get a fairly full brush. It's going to put a lot of color down for me. I don't want the brush size to be giant, but I do want to cover a lot at a time. So as far as what shapes or how, that is up to you. I usually just kind of put in random shapes, and I like to have just for a little bit of perspective, I like to have them tilting down this way and then coming back in this way. So it kind of gives it just that little bit of perspective. And you can see that that brush shape has given us some nice little rocky details. And then we'll come in, and in general, this side, I don't know, it's just me. I always make this side kind of shorter than this side, and I don't know why I do that, but I do. So this is your world. You can do whatever you want to with it. Now you can put lighthouses and all kinds of stuff here too if you want to. Matter of fact, let's just put a lighthouse in. So I turned on this tool here. This is a shape tool, but I've got it on the line right now. And this really helps you if you're trying to make a straight line, like say for a lighthouse. And I'm not an architect. I don't know how to build a lighthouse. I don't really know what a lighthouse even actually looks like, but I can conceptualize one. Alright, so now we're going to shrink this down just a little bit. We're going to kind of cut straight across. Maybe this is kind of an old ruined lighthouse. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it still works. And I'm just using these straight lines to kind of just start slowly building up what we're after here. And as I get kind of more and more into the details, I'll make the lines smaller and smaller. Like I said, maybe this is just an old ruined lighthouse somewhere. And I'll turn the line tool off now, and I'll make a kind of a little flag going off into the distance there. Alright, so we've got some kind of an old ruined lighthouse looking building over here, and then on this side we gotta have some kind of a level foundation here, so maybe just a couple of old pillars. You know, some old ruins here. Maybe there's another one peeking up over here. And I think if you get too caught up in trying to make every little perfect detail, and you can zoom way in on this and zoom out, and you can do all kinds of things, but that's really not what I'm trying to do. I am just trying to throw a few little cool looking background details. Maybe people will notice. I guess what I'm trying to do is trying to create the viewer a story in the viewer's mind, whoever's checking this stuff out. I kind of want them to have to create their own little backstory about what's going on here. What all these little shapes are and stuff. That's for them to decide. And the other thing is you gotta kind of know when to stop. And I'm getting to a good point of stopping on all this. Alright, new layer. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use one of these custom made brushes. And this is one of my favorite brush sets right here. Jason's Free Fantasy Art Set. Now what this brush set is consists of the cloud brushes I was talking about, some water features, and it's also got these rocks. So for instance, let me turn that line tool off and maybe not go so crazy here. Gotta make this smaller. We're going to turn it down to about 25% so we can start subtly just throwing in some rock details and kind of depending on how you cross hatch them and lay them out. You can create all kinds of little details and shadows. And it's just like if you were using a sponge brush or something like that. You still have to understand values and shadows and colors and how all that works together. Man, Pretzel is really letting me down on the music today. Okay, here we go. So we got a few little details in the rocks there. Now for our lighthouse, we're going to go almost gray. We'll still leave a little reddish orange in it. We just kind of want the suggestion, not really any real detail. And we want it to be a different color and contrast a little bit with the rocks. Same with these little pillars over here. You just kind of remember your old art lessons. If the light's kind of coming from this way, you want to leave these sides dark. And again, we're not going to get too detailed. Matter of fact, we're just about done with all this rocks and stuff like that. Now we're to the point of the paintings where you have to kind of be brave here. And you can save your work right now, and that's always a smart idea, is to save your work often. Because once I pass this point, if I screw up from this point on and I don't save it, I can't go back and fix it. But that's okay. I've done this before, so I merged all my layers together, so now everything I do affects everything on here. I can't pick and choose anymore. I'm going to turn the symmetry tool off. Then we're going to go up here to our smudge brushes, which are way back up here. I like this big old fat smudge brush, and we need to have it on about 10% or less. We'll try it at 10% first. We're going to turn that line tool back on. And then I want my brush because what we're going to do here is create the water effect. So I got to have my brush go from the bottom of the painting to the water line as I drag it across. So I got to kind of feel this out, and here we go. See what happens. And we get a nice little watery effect. Now I'm going to turn the line tool off, and I'm going to go to this smaller smudge brush, and then I just kind of start. I mean, you could, if it was a perfect reflection, you could see all this stuff, but I don't really like having the perfect reflections on the water. Alright, so now we're going to take this little fine tipped oil brush here and kind of orangey yellow, not quite white though. I'm going to turn my line tool back on, and I want this to be pretty small because we're going to put our water lines in, and I am going to start a new layer for this. So you just want these to be, if I can get them to work here, turn my flow up, and you just want these to be, did I not select my brush? Of course I didn't. And you just want these to be straight. Now to kind of create that there's different things going on out here, you can put these at different levels. Like for instance, you don't have to have them all going in one straight line across your painting. And then we will take a little brush and smudge all this out just a little bit. Over here, as you can see, we will have different levels. And see, as you go farther away, how your lines will get higher and higher. Just another little perspective trick. Okay. So right here in back in my artist set, I've got this hair brush. And what this thing does is it just acts like just a dry brush. Say you were oil painting and you just kind of wanted to drag this stuff out a little bit. That's all I'm doing with this. And it just kind of smooths things out for you. That makes it look a little bit more natural. So now we've got our nice little water line here. And now what we've got is this big giant sky with nothing in it. So we're going to fix that by putting something closer. So we're going to add a new land feature. And maybe the reason I always leave this side short is because I tend to, when I'm doing this part of my painting, I tend to bring, as soon as I turn that line tool off, I tend to bring this stuff in, this little bank of land, I tend to bring it in from this side. So maybe that's why I always leave this side short. That might be it. Now this side here that's closest to you, I don't know if you remember your Bob Ross shows, but it's going to be the darkest part of all this. The closer things get to you, the darker they are. Alright. So So we're going to go back to our oil brush, and we're going to grab this fine little hair brush here. And I want this to be black. So start a new layer. We're going to put a little bush in here. Now everybody does these different, and there's really not a right or wrong way to do this. However you want to sketch your bush in, whatever shape you want it to be. I think we've all seen just about every kind of shape out there, so I kind of like the twisted up looking bushes. As you get out of here on your branches, you know, you're going to want smaller and smaller brushes. And now all this right here, say like and because I don't like how I did the top of this whole thing, I'm just going to erase it, and then we'll start over. And that's something you can't do with traditional art. You can, but it's a lot more work than that. And again, you can spend as much or as little time as you want putting every little doodad of a limb that you want out here. Is your painting, you do with it how you want to. But I don't spend a whole lot of time on making every limb perfect. I just get an indication of what I want to do. Now remember that fan brush that we used way back at the beginning of all this to put our clouds in? Well, it's one of my favorite tools to start putting in leaves. And I need to turn that flow all the way back up so we can start, just like Bob would say, tapping them in. Tap, tap, tap. And the reason I'm doing these super dark to begin with, because if you want your bright colors to pop out, they need something dark to sit on. And that's probably big enough. So we've got this nice dark background. And now, I don't know, I'm really just into kind of these pink bushes for some reason. We'll turn that flow back down. What are we on? 1. We'll go up to about 30% or so. And we're just kind of tapping in some color. You don't have to be purposeful on any of this. Just kind of throw some color in there. And now we're going to go with a nice red, but I'm going to turn that flow down just a little bit more. And again, I'm just kind of tapping in some random color. Now I'm going to shrink the brush down quite a bit, and I'm going to go almost white and just start tapping in some little highlights here and there. You can put little flowers, little berries, whatever you want all over this thing. And now I'm going to kind of soften this up. I'm going to go to my smudge brush. And, ooh, not that much. Turn that bad boy down, way down. Talking like 5%. There we go. Then we're just going to kind of blend this and soften it a little bit for right now. I'm telling you, this is supposed to be the chill station, and all I'm getting is like dubstep and crap. Now don't fret about me smudging out all those little leafy details, because we're going to go back again. Gotta have multiple layers, I just kind of want this to flow together a little bit. Okay, new layer. Let's see here. We'll go back to our fan brush. I could cheat and use one of my leaf brushes, but I don't want to do that. Turn the flow down to about 15%. And then we'll start tapping in some more detail. And this is just a dark red, just to kind of break things up a little bit. Alright, one more layer. We're going back to black, and I'm turning my flow all the way back up. And we're just gonna go along the edge here. Put in a few dark spots. Kind of grab this purple, kind of a darker purple, maybe a little darker than that. That's probably way too thick. Way too thick. Turn the flow down. There we go. By getting all these different layers in, you start creating some depth in this. So I am going to use a palette knife simulator, and it has been a while since I've used this one, so we're going to see what we got going on. There we go. And now we can bring out some detail. And because we had all those different layers of colors and textures underneath this, it's gonna come out looking pretty nice. Now there's other ways that you can do these bushes, and this is by It's not even the only way I do them. I do all kinds of different techniques when I do these things. But basically, you just got to be brave and don't be afraid to make a mess with this, because you can always wipe it all out and just start over. Okay. I'm going to grab a little, I have to find it here. It's somewhere way down here. I've got a little splatter brush. Kind of mimics if you were doing the little technique where you you take your brush and you rub the bristles. Let's see how big we got going on here. So I'm trying to make it look like there's just a little bit of stuff falling out of this tree. I know it's real subtle, but it makes a difference. All right. So now, I'm going to save this work right here. And this is another thing I do. We will name this Tree Bay. I don't know. Sounds good enough. So I'll go ahead and save this as a TIFF file, which a TIFF file just means it's got the layers in it. But I'm actually going to open this in another program. And just like touching up your Instagram photos or something like that, you can go in here and touch up your digital art. And there is nothing wrong with doing that. So there's our picture, and I'm using Photor, as you can tell. And what we'll do is I kind of like this one here because it makes it look a little bit more like a painting. It's kind of torn between these two. Okay. I think I like this one. Alright, and then we will play with the saturation and the contrast and all that stuff, just to make it pop a little bit more. So we still did all the work, we still did all the drawing. We're just playing with making this thing pop out the way we want it to. And I kind of like the little dark edges. I don't want to go too dark though, because I'm liking that detail on that lighthouse right there, or whatever that is. Maybe a little less. Alright. The contrast up, maybe down. And this is another thing, you could sit and play with this all day. Turn that temperature up so we get that nice little glow. Contrast in just a hair. We want that nice golden glow there. Alright. So now we're going to save it as a JPEG. And then we will close Photor down. And we'll go back to our sketchbook. And we're going to open the one that we just played with and saved. So now we've got this whole new look to it. And we'll throw in a couple more little details on this thing and call it a day. So whenever I save it and bring it back after all that filtering and stuff and playing with it, it's always wise to when you're going to use these brushes, make sure and use the little sample tool and get a sample so that you can match the colors up. And this is a little grass brush. I love this brush too. It really kind of brings things out. And you can see because I matched the color, it looks pretty good. Now down here, one thing I need to do, just kind of something I noticed as I was applying that filter, is I need just a little bit more horizon here. And I don't really know if I can pull this off without screwing this thing up, but we're going to try it. How big is this brush? Yeah. So I'm going to grab a little bit of that dark area. There we go. And bring it across. Just a little bit. Got too high there. Too high. There we go. That way we can see our horizon. Now, maybe the old-fashioned the old standby in these kind of paintings. We're going to turn the line tool off. We're going to put a little bird right up there. And maybe he's got a friend there. Alright, and now the most important thing is we're going to sign this thing. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Just a quick little walkthrough on how my thought process on going through these landscapes. And you'll see me do a lot of these. These are my favorite to do. Just some kind of a bay, a lake, whatever it is. Some kind of ruined buildings, huts, and then a nice big tree right in the middle. Now, if I don't put a tree in the middle, I tend to put a giant UFO or a spaceship up here in the sky. So it's one or the other. And this time we went with a tree. Next time we'll go with a spaceship. But again, don't forget to hit the, where's it at? The subscribe button should be down that way. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll keep bringing this content to you. Remember, I do live streams. Thursday night at 8 o'clock for sure is the one I have scheduled, but I tend to pop up all the time throughout the week, Tuesday through Fridays. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, Oji-san's got your back. Until the next video, Oji-san out. Just headbutt my microphone.